What's up, everybody? Welcome to the After Sermon. I'm here with Michele. Thank you so much for speaking this weekend. I
Right.
always love when you're up. I'm so thankful to have you on our teaching
Likewise.
team and to be helping out so much here at church. We're just grateful to have you here. Great job this weekend.
Oh,
What a
thanks.
challenging message and
Very
tough
much so.
chapter that you handle. Give us just a quick little summary recap in case somebody missed us this week.
So the last chapter of Jonah really kind of like the whole book is a crescendo
Mhm.
to a very important message that God is trying to get through to Jonah. He's not getting it, which I relate. I don't always get it either. And so in chapter 4, Jonah preaches to the Ninevites and they repent, and God relents from destroying them. So this should be an opportunity for good news, and instead, Jonah is furious. He's furious about God's mercy. And so God has to teach him some object lessons to help him understand the nature of his mercy.
Mhm. Mhm. Your message was great and challenging as well as we try and personally manage this tension between so desperately needing and wanting mercy
Yeah.
for ourselves, but then to reciprocate and give mercy to others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the challenge that you talked about. It is not an easy one.
It is not.
And how quickly, as humans, we forget how desperately we want that when it comes our turn to give it. Can you talk about that just a little?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. As you were talking, I was thinking about how we fail to recognize the extraordinary cost that God paid to give us mercy. And so when we're faced with mercy and it's uncomfortable and difficult and offends us and it's hard, we think something must be wrong. And as you were talking, I immediately had this image in my mind of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane,
Hmm.
wrestling with the cost
Oh,
of mercy.
yeah.
Like it wasn't easy for him
Mm,
either.
mm,
And that actually encourages me to know that when I'm struggling with mercy, to actually, identify with Jesus's wrestling with the cost,
mhm,
knowing that my wrestling with the cost is part of the process,
mhm,
and then leaning into it rather than running
mm,
away.
mhm. You talked about the price to give mercy. Talk about the connection between our hesitancy or maybe sometimes our kind of like failure to lean towards mercy because of what it costs us.
Yeah, well, I just, I don't think we enjoy, well, we tend to want to make everything a math equation that's equal on both sides.
Hmm.
Like we want our interactions with people to add up and to be fair and to make sense. And truly, God's mercy doesn't make sense. If we really understand it for what
Yeah.
it makes zero sense.
Hmm.
And so when we get uncomfortable and we're wrestling with the unfairness of mercy, I think that's part of why we think something must be wrong. I don't want to do this. I don't have to. And yet that is exactly the nature of God's
So
mercy.
good. So good. We also have this challenge when we're extending mercy to others or feeling the tension of doing that when we've been in circumstances and situations where we've really been hurt and wounded.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that there's like the tension is real. There's some fine lines and
Mhm.
boundaries that are
Mhm.
part of that, and we don't want anyone to misunderstand that we just let go of all boundaries when something has been done and someone doesn't have a
Yes.
level of trust in our lives. Would you talk about how do we manage this tension between extending mercy and having healthy boundaries in unhealthy situations?
Yeah, this is tough and it's messy. And I wrestle in this tension quite often. So, mercy does not mean being a doormat or
Mhm.
putting ourselves repeatedly in abusive, destructive situations.
Yeah.
That's not mercy. What's really important, and this is where we need to back up a little bit, God's scandalous mercy is always rooted in God's perfect love.
Mm.
So true mercy is rooted in God's perfect love. And so when God offers mercy, it's done from that as the groundwork or the background of that. So if we are in an abusive situation, somebody who is truly being very, very destructive,
Mhm.
offering them mercy is not love in those situations, like repeatedly staying in that situation or enabling an alcoholic to keep drinking or whatever it may be. That's not loving them. That's not showing God's love to
Mhm.
them. So you have to think in terms of, is mercy in this case really in that person's best interest?
Wow.
Right. And that's hard.
Mhm.
And that requires some discernment and knowledge. But mercy does not mean a lack of boundaries.
Mhm.
It's choosing to operate in the context of God's perfect love, even if the other person doesn't deserve it. And that may mean setting a boundary
Yeah.
and yet living in forgiveness,
For sure.
right?
For sure. That's awesome. Um, in studying chapter 4, one of the things that's always been perplexing for anyone that reads the whole book is that it's like somebody just dropped the pen, shut the computer, it's over, it's done. There's so much left unresolved. And tell me a little about that as you've unpacked this story a little bit more. Why do you think that was?
I really think we're meant to see ourselves in the story. There's always questions about like who actually wrote the story of Jonah. Was it Jonah or somebody else? And I recently listened to Tim Keller's book on the
So
book
good.
of Jonah, and he made a comment that the reason we have all the detail in Jonah is because we have a firsthand recounting of the experience. Like the reason we know all the details inside the fish is because the person who was in the fish wrote it.
Uh,
And to me, I processed that and I thought, so if we have Jonah, who was constantly confronted with God's question, is it right for you to be angry?
hmm,
And God's question, is it is it fair of me not to be concerned for the Ninevites? I think Jonah eventually did learn his lesson. I
yeah.
think that's why we have the book.
Yeah.
And he's turning around and offering the same service to
Mm.
us.
I love that the story continues. The story continues in our lives and
Mhm.
in your lives. And what if it could be that this very week, as we get intentional about extending mercy to those around us, that this would be the first glimpse that someone sees to really grasp and understand the mercy of God in their life
Can
too?
you
It's
imagine?
so
Can
powerful.
you
If
imagine?
we collectively together, Plum Creek, did this, we literally could change this valley in the world. So I
Mhm.
really want to challenge you to think about that. There will be a chance. There will be a chance
I
this
had a
week.
chance this past week, and I was like, "Oh, how nice that I have the opportunity so quickly."
That's awesome. You're 1 week ahead of us. So it's our turn this week. Listen, if you missed the message, I would sure love for you to hop on the platform that you use to get your podcast. You could hop on YouTube or other places too, or our website to get some more information and to follow along. Michelle, thank you again. Always such
My
a joy to be
pleasure.
doing
Thank you.
ministry with you. You're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next time.